Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer with RealTime Fantasy Sports. Welcome to another edition of the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. On today's show, we are going to preview the quarterback position for 2023 of the fantasy football season. I'm going to be joined by contributor writer here at RealTime Fantasy Sports, Logan Glaser. We're going to go over all of our favorite picks, our fades, some of our sleepers, and the rookie we like this year as well at the quarterback spot. So I'm going to bring Logan up now with me. Logan, thanks so much for joining me on the show once again. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jeff. Excited to dive into these quarterback position.
Yeah, definitely. It's an exciting position this year. I think it's really deep. It was deep last year, but it might be even deeper this year. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so looking at recent drafts, we had 7 quarterbacks selected in the first 5 rounds of the last TFC.
Wow.
Last year, we were averaging just about 3 quarterbacks taken in the first 5 rounds. So quarterbacks are being taken a lot sooner this year compared to last year's. It's also a deeper field, I believe, as well. I think last year we were just really looking at Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, maybe Justin Herbert right there, but now it's a lot deeper field.
Yeah, I agree. And you're right, though. You have to act sooner if you want one of these elite guys. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, they really produced some big numbers last year, and also Jalen Hurts as well. I think some people consider Hurts even to be number one. Those top three, you can go with any of those guys being the first QB off the board. So there's some three really good options. But if you want one, you got to act early on those guys, right?
Absolutely. I think we saw last year a lot of leagues won based off of that quarterback position. I mean, there are some massive numbers being put up there, and that's what can make or break your team if you have a good quarterback.
Yep. So let's dive into it. We're gonna give our two favorite targets first at the QB spot. So how about we give you go first with your two favorite targets?
Yeah, my first target is Justin Fields. Between weeks 6 through 15 last year, he did not score under 21 fantasy points. He put up some absolutely massive numbers, and that's mainly due to running the ball. I mean, he was the top running quarterback. But based off what we've seen this offseason is that he's improved his accuracy with passing, and he also has weapons this year. So his wide receiver room has DJ Moore. He's going to have a full year with Chase Claypool, and then Darnell Mooney. That's actually a decent wide receivers room to have. And also, Deontay Foreman's their top running back. He's not going to put up massive numbers as well. So, really, for Chicago to compete, I think they're going to have success with Fields. So, I'm going to be looking at him currently being taken as the 6th overall quarterback. And number 7 is my next target in Trevor Lawrence. Again, he's got an absolutely great wide receiver room. You got Christian Kirk. Ridley's coming in this year. You got Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, and then Etienne from the backfield. Last year, he finished number 7 quarterback, and he's being drafted as such so far this year. I really like his upside, and he's a very consistent quarterback.
I love Lawrence this year as well. He's one of my targets. Since you mentioned him, I am not going to though, but I think he's going to have a huge year. He could be top five. I think he's going to be a great pick.
Absolutely.
My first target is actually Justin Herbert. So last year he was high on everybody's list. He kind of disappointed a little bit. He ended up finishing 8th overall in fantasy's quarterback scoring, and that was, you know, having a few disappointing games along the way. But they had a lot of injuries along the offensive line, at receiver as well. He still had 9 games, 9 of 17 games with 20 plus fantasy points, despite showing, some down games along the way. He still had some big showings in that great offense. And I think the addition of Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator is just great for Herbert. Moore loves to throw the ball. He did it in Dallas, kind of infuriated some of those fans. They wanted them to run the ball more, but he loves to throw a Kellen Moore. So I think Herbert's really going to get a lot of chances to air it out, and this could be his best season to date, in my view. Another one of my targets is Jared Goff. Really like Goff a lot this year. He was actually top 10 in fantasy quarterback scoring last year, 9th overall in that Lions explosive offense, had 29 touchdowns to just 7 interceptions, threw for more than 4,400 yards. And he did this in an offense that had some injury issues as well. You got to remember that. So this year, he's got a healthier offense, good running back situation with Gibbs in the mix now. Jamison Williams will be back at some point, not at the start of the year, unfortunately, now, but still, I like that receiver core a lot. They're going to throw the ball a lot. I think Goff's going to have a big year. And if you want to wait on QB, he's a guy I think you can get later and still produce in that top 10 fantasy quarterback range and have some good games along the way. Let's talk about the flip side now, Logan. Guys that we're fading that we probably aren't going to have many on our roster. So,
Yeah, I'm going to be fading those top quarterbacks. So the first one is Josh Allen. I think it's just too high of a price to pay with how deep the quarterback position is. And Sean McDermott has stated over this offseason that he does not want Josh Allen to run the ball as much this year. I think that's going to hurt his fantasy value a lot. You really get those points based off of rushing yards as a quarterback. 10 yards equals a point. I mean, that's just as good as 25 passing yards, depending on your league scoring settings. But that's why I'm going to be avoiding Josh Allen. My next one is Patrick Mahomes as well. He's currently being drafted as the number 1 overall quarterback. An amazing season last year. He's lost Juju in the offseason to the Patriots. Their wide receiver room is MVS, Kadarius Toney, and Sky Moore as their top 3 wide receivers. It is not great. I know Andy Reid does creative ways to find them the ball, but that is a very scary situation in the wide receiver room. You also got Travis Kelce, obviously. He's going to put up a monster year if he stays healthy. But again, his health is my concern. And if Kelce goes down, then Mahomes is in big trouble with that offense.
it's hard to get bet against Mahomes and that offense, but I think you're kind of like me with your two fades, with what you're calling your two fades, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. That means you're probably not going to act super early on a QB. Is that right?
Correct. I really like a QB in that 5, 6, 7 rounds, and that Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, and then go out there in rounds maybe 14 through 16 and get another backup quarterback, which I'll talk more in my sleepers.
Yeah, I think I'm the same way there, Logan, as well. I just can't do it. I can't use that early of a pick on Allen and Mahomes. I might try it in one league just to see how it works out, but
Yeah.
for the most part, I'm like you. I'm probably going to wait and get one of those guys just behind them. My fades, my first one is Matthew Stafford of the Los Angeles Rams. So he was a bust last year. I just don't see a turnaround. He had more than 20 fantasy points just one time in 9 games last year, multiple touchdowns just twice. He also had some accuracy issues, some problems with his neck. He had the 8th worst bad throw percentage in football. He had 10 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. That team did not do much to help him in the offseason as well. I know a healthy Cooper Kupp will be huge, but the rest of that receiver core, I don't like it right now. And I just don't trust that offense. They're going the wrong way. They went all in a few years ago to try to win the Super Bowl. I think they're paying the price now. And I think it could be a long season in Los Angeles for Stafford and that entire offense. My next fade is Jordan Love with the Green Bay Packers. Finally gets his chance to start with the departure of Aaron Rodgers. I think he has good potential, showed well at times, but even with that said, I think the Packers are going to be a run first team. They wanted to start to do that later on in Aaron Rodgers' tenure as a starter there in Green Bay, and Rodgers didn't like that, but I think they're really going to go run first this year with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. I think he's going to get less chances to throw the ball. And like you've mentioned with some past receiver rooms about some being good, some being bad, I don't like the receiver room in Green Bay at all. Mr. Watson's fine, but man, after him, I don't just not a fan. I just don't think it sets up Love to post huge numbers in that offense in his first year as a starter. So I'm staying away from him at this point. All right, let's talk about sleepers. Everybody loves a sleeper. Give me two quarterback sleepers you think could surprise this year.
Yeah, my sleeper is your target, Jared Goff. So he's currently being drafted as the number 16th overall quarterback. Last year, he ranked inside the top 10. And as you said, he's got potential to be a top 10 quarterback again this year, ranked number 9 overall in 2022. And that's mainly due to the up-tempo offense with Detroit. They play in some very high-scoring games because their defense hasn't been that great. They allow a lot of points, but they also score a lot of points. And that is perfect for a fantasy quarterback. He's got weapons, as you mentioned. So I really like him as a sleeper and kind of get him as an early number 2 quarterback for your roster, depending on your number 1 quarterback. And then my other sleeper is Geno Smith. Last year, he had 30 touchdown passes. The only QB that had more, or 3 QBs that had more touchdown passes than him were Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, and then Smith was there at number 4. They have more weapons now on offense as well. You got JSN, you got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and now you bring in another running back with Zach. So their offense is going to be flying. I think they're going to put up just as many points as they did last year, and I really like that for Geno Smith.
Yeah, it's interesting. Both Smith and Goff make your sleeper list. They had good seasons last year, but you're right.
Yeah.
They're not getting drafted where they belong, in my opinion, as well. And I like that call on
It's
both of
just
them.
because they're not big names, and that doesn't mean they're not great at fantasy, and they were really good fantasy quarterbacks last year.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. Okay, my sleeper, my first one is Jimmy Garoppolo. So has injury issues. I know that. And now there's word today. I just saw a report where he had foot surgery in the offseason. They think he'll be ready for week one, but still, that's a concern. Always has injury issues. But man, he was playing great football last year before he got hurt. And now he moves to a Raiders offense that is more pass first. He's familiar with Josh McDaniels, good weapons in the passing game with Jacoby Myers, who's just added, and Devontae Adams. I think Garoppolo, as long as he stays healthy, he could have a career best season in my view in that offense. I think he's really set up for good things. Let's just hope he can stay healthy. That's a big issue with him. My next sleeper is Desmond Ridder with the Atlanta Falcons. So surprisingly, he did not throw an interception last year when he got moved into the starting lineup. So that was impressive to me. He went 2-2 in his starts, completed 63.5% of his passes, found the end zone a couple times as well. They're giving him the keys to the offense. He's going to take over. And I think it's a real positive that they added Bijan Robinson to that offense because he's going to take some pressure off Ridder. He's going to be used a lot. I think that could really help open up things for Ridder in the passing game. Plus, he has some good young playmakers in Drake London and Kyle Pitts as well. And Ritter's not afraid to run the ball, too. So I think he's a good sleeper late round pick, especially if you get a dependable starter at the top of your draft. All right, let's move on to the rookie. There's actually a lot of rookies taken in the first round this year, a lot of guys that are likely going to be starting. Who is your favorite rookie in this class?
Yeah, my favorite rookie, I'm going to go with Anthony Richardson for the QB position. So it's basically how high his upside is. So he's currently being drafted in the 13th round. Players around that currently are Leonard Fournette, Ezekiel Elliott, Curtis Samuel, Marvin Mims, and Cole Kmet. I don't think any of those guys are going to win you your league. So I'm going to go with a guy that has extreme upside, and that's Anthony Richardson. I would say anything after round 10, you're looking at players that you just have a high ceiling with. You don't want those safety net plays, and Anthony Richardson is going to have that high ceiling, and he can put up some monstrous numbers with Colts starting from day one.
I agree. I love Richardson. I think he has a high ceiling of any of the QBs this year, the rookie ones, I should say. So I think that's a great call. I'm going to pick CJ Stroud, though. I think he's ready to be, he's the most NFL ready out of all the rookie quarterbacks. He's smart, good leader for a young player. And also, something I don't think you want to overlook is I think the Texans are the worst of all the three elite QBs that were drafted this year that are going to get a chance to start. So that means that Stroud could throw the ball more when they're playing from behind. So I think that bodes well for him. I don't love their receiver room, but they do have a couple weapons in there for Stroud to work with. But overall, I think he's the most NFL ready, could get the most chances to air it out as well. So that's why I'm picking him. I really like Richardson, though. He's my favorite long-term option at the position when it comes to fantasy quarterbacks. All right, Logan, that's the quarterback preview. Thanks a lot for joining me with it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jeff.
A lot of fun talking about this deep position this year, and good luck in all of your leagues when you're drafting this quarterback spot. So, Logan, thanks again for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Drafts going all around. We got TFC drafts going on, best ball, hop in one.
Yep, definitely. There's a lot of drafts going on at this point, so get in one today at rtsports.com. This has been Jeff Paur with RealTime Fantasy Sports.
And this has been Logan Glaser from RealTime Fantasy Sports.
Have a great day, everyone.